All right, we're back for another round, another walk around of one of our track builds. This car is one of about 8 cars, I believe now, that we've built for clients out at the Thermal Club. As we've kind of gone along with these guys and they get more and more in tune with what we do and what we offer, you know, it just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. These cars are really cool because, well, it's a street car with a street car interior, air conditioning, stereo, all that good stuff. But they are allowed to run in the same run groups as the Cup cars because they turn the same lap times. But still, as with everything, you could still take it to dinner, you know, and have a nice time that's not too harsh and too rough. Because, well, that's the misconception of race cars. They do not need to be stiff. That is absolutely false. You know, people try to emulate race cars, but race cars are with pro drivers in perfect scenarios of very hot tires, slicks, you know, and a driving ability far higher than most of us. So they're pushing the limit much further. The threshold is much further along. So that goes with spring rates and damper settings and all that stuff as well. So something that communicates well is what's most important. But this is our latest one for a client out there. We'll be delivering it in the next few weeks and picking up another, but looks relatively stock, you know. Say that with a smile. We don't get too wild, but there is a lot of really trick stuff on this, and you know, with a focus on the fundamentals. You know, obviously we've gone through the suspension, you know, upgraded the dampers to the KW Variant 5 rear and the Variant 4 front, like we've mentioned in previous cars. This still retains the factory nose lift, which again for street use is really important. All the control arms are replaced by our solid arms with a little bit more adjustability, because as you can see, the front track width on this car is really wide. You know, we want a good platform. We want to eliminate any understeer without taking away from the back of the car. So just a quick walk around. I mean, visually, obviously the yellow wheels stand out pretty severely, but he's going to do a fun livery on this car at some point, and this really will only see track use. It's on the Hankook slicks, 18-inch in the front and 19-inch in the rear, so similar to the original Stagger of 20 and 21. But we wanted a really wide and tall front tire to match the rear, you know, and be more like the GT3R and the RSR. So we're able to fit a 280 660 18 front tire, which is really nice. And then the rear is a 19-inch tire. It's a 320 710 19, which really keeps the bias and the balance and the aspect ratios as they're supposed to be. The next thing you'll see really is just, again, the separation edges like on the Cup car and the dual front dive planes. We use our underbody strakes, but we'll show you that once we get up on the rack. Even our window banners, you keep the sun out of your eye. We recently had these cut, so they are sized for the windshield, but also for the headlight and rain, the wiper sensor there, so you don't constantly have the headlights on. The stock rear wing is retained, but we add a gurney as well as a deck lid spoiler, and then raise the rear wing up into cleaner, more efficient air. Like the GT3 previously, we opened up the larger vents. These are a little more obvious, you know, because it's a closed off fender liner. So we open up the fender liner and the heat shield and all of that stuff on the side. So that's a nice way of getting the reducing drag and allowing some of that positive pressure to be released that are created by the spinning wheels. Same goes for the back here. Now it's a little more colorful because the RS has a titanium muffler from factory. This car won't see street use, so it does not have cats. It just has long tube headers and obviously software to go with that. Well, that's it for visuals, because it's form follows function. These are fantastic cars, and we just kind of amplify what's already there. We talk a lot about performance upgrades, obviously, for track use, but there's also the safety aspect. And this is a street car. It will only be used for the track, but it can be used anytime that they choose for the street. So it really is just a street car interior with the original race buckets and harnesses. So we put one of our chromoly back half roll bars in there, and use the Schroth harnesses for the GT3 buckets, and that's it. We didn't need to take away from the car. Sure, if you wanted to, you could strip the interior and reduce weight. That's always a bonus, but all too often we go too far with cars and take away from some of that driving experience, and making it a one-trick pony. We like to keep everything so that it's dual use. This street use, you throw the street tires and wheels on it, and you can drive this up the coast. It's not too harsh, which is really, really great. But then, throw it on track and it's an absolute monster. But really nice and tasteful. You don't have to take away from the car in order to improve it. Well, we'll take a look at some of the good stuff that's, again, always hidden. Same brakes as the GT3. This one, although has the nickel-plated version, which is gorgeous. The rotors look rusty because we just recently washed the car. But the KWs, the GT3RS has a hydraulic lift, not a pneumatic lift, but the same damper still works on this car. It takes a little bit of wizardry on our part to make it work on the GT3, but this kit is made for the RS, which is absolutely brilliant. I mean, there isn't really a better kit on the market. No, there isn't, in my opinion, for the street car. That bridges the gap between race car and street car, stays compliant and comfortable with the utmost in performance, but also the front axle lift. There's not a whole lot to see beyond the brakes and that. We do open up these vents here too. They usually have a screen. We actually learned that from some engineers at Porsche that said, now it's been a few years, but I believe it improved the function of these by 20% to delete the mesh that's behind there. And really, it doesn't affect anything on the car. Like previously, the bump steer tie rod ends and our adjustable, shim adjustable tension arms, outer control arms, inner control arms, just everything replaced with billet pieces instead of the factory casted pieces. The same under tray strakes like the GT3, but this time they're in full carbon. And that's it for the front underside of the car. We'll move to the rear. You'll notice all the same control arms, all for the same reasons. No adjustability where we don't need it or where no one wants it that doesn't really know the ins and outs of these cars. So just a nice billet arm that bolts in place as you would expect. So really anyone who can turn a wrench can replace these arms. The long tube headers without cats. Again, this is just because it's a car for Thermal Club and it will not be registered, so it's okay to run without cats. And again, we mapped the engine specifically for that and make the best power we can and no check engine lights. Here you can see the venting a little bit better. The RS is different and wider, so it requires that we open up the bumper support here and we put our own mesh in there. Obviously there's mesh on the outside, but you can see daylight through there, which is going to be what is a massive benefit to reducing drag and releasing that positive pressure in the wheel well from the spinning the spinning wheels. Here you get a better look of the grills opened up, and we add reinforcements to what we removed. We needed to not just remove it. It needed to secure everything appropriately. You can see here, as mentioned before, diffuser with the muffler, the continuation of that flat surface. So we're not taking away from the aero performance. We're not taking away from the beautiful sound of the car with the way Porsche designed it. So the stock titanium muffler, nice and light, sounds beautiful. The weight really was reduced by those side muffler suitcases and the catalyst. So in this configuration, this is about 45 pounds lighter than stock, with the headers, no cats, and no side mufflers. So this is honestly very similar to how the Cup cars are. So it's a stock center section-ish. They just don't allow for the valves, obviously. And then a header with a high flow cat. In this case, we don't even have the cat. But pretty simple, but it's very easy to get wrong.